Oh, well, hello there. I didn't hear you come in. Don't mind me, I'm just getting a little bit of lunch. Well, if you're here, that means it's only one thing's possible. Here we are, folks. Mystery Arts Inc. back here again. My name's Jacob, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most anticipated DVD projects of all time. This has been something that I've overheard Fraser, Ross, even Turner, Peter, talking about for a long time. In this, what essentially you're going to get is the ability to start going out and utilizing this propless approach. The beautiful thing being on top of that, there are training wheels discussed. Different things you can do to get your propless up to par before you really take it out and use it. Of course, all these training wheels also, you don't really need them, which over time, as you get more comfortable doing this, you'll be able to do rows, ecroft, you name it, spur of the moment, anytime, anywhere. And even some of the effects in here are not fully propless in the way that there's a psychological nature to them or anything like that. It's purely physical, classic methods, but reapplied to a whole new effect and a whole new premise. What are you going to find inside a Rapture? Well, other than a divine gateway to the above, you're also going to find 15 effects. That's right, that's 5, 10, 15. Different effects listed, as well as general talk, yada yada yada, performances, everything of all the effects in here. Most of these effects don't really require a lot of explanation. They're just kind of something you have to go out and do until you get it down pat. And for those of you that are interested in propless work, do check out my video, The Propless Thought Shop. It's probably one of the most popular videos I've ever put out, but it's almost 30 minutes of pure, thinking and wisdom, I guess. I'm young, so I can't really give you much wisdom, but wisdom on me learning the propless approach, because it is a very daunting thing to go into a situation and think, oh man, I might fall flat on my ass. But you don't have to worry about that if you use some of the training wheels in that video, also discussed in the DVD in Rapture itself. So propless is something that is very controversial. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. It's kind of a constant battle thing. One of my best friends is Ken Dine, who completely despises propless and is open in basically his hatred of it. But I talk to him, and we're very good friends, so we can go back and forth, and we respect each other's opinions. We just respect that sometimes they're different on different things. But also he's working a very different market, I would say, than a lot of working mentalists are working. Now, I'm not saying that, no one can get corporate gigs. They're getting harder. I struggle with corporate gigs, and that's primarily where I work when I work. I'm not your full-time pro. I have a very professional job because I want to make sure that in the real world, if everything falls apart, I still have a way to feed my kids someday whenever they hit this planet. So I focus primarily right now on getting a job and qualifications outside of mentalism and magic, even though I'm sure in due time that's probably where I'll be working fully. And I'm always trying to get my business better and perform and learn and develop things. Bit of open front honesty there. But back to the important stuff in Rapture. Inside here you're going to find a few of the old classics that have been released by Fraser and Ross together over the years. You're going to find Ploy in here, which is a really nice way of almost getting information, getting a star sign off of a playing card revelation. You're going to find things here such as Rose, which is one of those controversial products I've ever seen, which I don't fully understand because I've used it and it works minimalistically, simplistically, and effectively all around. You'll also find Ecroft in here, which is a book in of itself. You're going to find the basics of Ecroft. There's a lot more in the PDF. I'm not sure if that's being included in the DVD or not. I have the downloads currently. My DVD's sure on the way. But I know if it is included in there, you're going to get a real deal in there. You're going to get a complete crash course on how to do some incredible blindfold and pseudo-blindfold work that ranges from psychometry to individual object predictions and also revelations. You're going to find a lot of work in here, and it's a big mixed bag. And I think that's what's really cool about this. You're not just getting a succinct, this is it, generalized look. You're getting a humongous look at everything. So you're really getting a head inside the box look at what Fraser and Ross have been developing and has become their passion the last 4 or 5 years. Pause for the cause. Lunchtime, what a delightful time of day. So, all in this, I think that you're really getting a bargain. Let's go into a little more in depth and talk about each individual effect and talk about why they're important and why they're a perfect structure in this DVD project that's, once again, been anticipated for years. In the first disc, you're going to find all those performances that you all have demanded for years. Well, if it's so good, I want to see it performed. With propless and the way that the double think, reframe, and things work, it's not always best for video. It's more of a live situation thing. So you have to understand, beautiful thing about propless mentalism and words-based mentalism is that once the words are spoken, they can instantly vanish. And with a little psychology, say what you want to, because I know some of you are going to disagree with me on this, but you can make people forget certain things. And it's not like anything in here is obvious. There is quite a bit of boldness to it, but really once you're comfortable, you go, that's not really bold. Bold is sticking your finger in someone's pocket and taking their wallet without them knowing. The pickpocketing stuff is bold. This stuff is not so bold, but a lot of people think it is just because it sounds like it might be, or appears to be on paper. When you take it out in performance in the real world, you'll find quite often it pans out just as you read it in the book. And, you know, with the exception of those of you out there that think you're just going out and doing a completely mechanical thing, where you don't have to put your personality into it, yada, yada, yada. Personality interjection is the most important part of all this. But in Disc 1, you're going to find all these performances in live situations, random people, utilizing the effects that are actually in the DVD. Some of my favorite ones in there, the performance of the pressure peak, the brief bit you get in there. Any word divination looks phenomenal in the performances, and Rose really shines in this too, which I think is great. And one of my favorite ones that I've been using recently, I met with Thaddeus Barker down in Ashland, Kentucky, where I'm originally from, actually. He just happened to live there. I was there on vacation visiting my family, and we met up at a coffee shop and got on for about 5 hours or so and chatted about life. Really a brilliant guy. Once you guys find out his work, if you like this stuff, you'll love Thaddeus's work as well. That being said, I did the reverse pin on Thaddeus. He'd never seen it before. Absolutely loved it. And I have an additional thing that I'll give to you guys that buy this. If you use the reverse pin with Michael Murray's perfect opener, in my opinion, it makes a lot more sense. I think it's a really, really nice effect to go with that and supports everything very strongly. So, that being said, let's keep going here. What else is in there? What else is in here besides the performance? You're going to find the explanation of O, which is my first thing I saw by Ross. And he talks about it a lot. I've made it private, but there is a video of me performing O in the Any Card, Any Number from the original PDF. And I still use it to this day. I used it at Magi Fest a few years ago, maybe 2015, 14, and absolutely blew away a bunch of magicians with it. They're all showing me very quick-worded 3-card Montes and stuff. I said, well, let me show you what I've got here. So I grabbed their deck, shuffled it, laid it down, asked them to think of a card and change their mind, asked them to think of a number, change their mind, and dealt down. There it is. So it's a really, really nice effect. And I think that it comes full circle very easily. So O is essentially a psychological playing card force that really, really is different. It capitalizes on the Ecroft method, but this is the precursor to it. And Ross goes into his variation. Fraser also talks about his variation of it. Absolutely stunning. I've used it for years. Same thing with the King's Force. I originally knew it as the original reframe force, but the King's Force is another one of those things that I just work tirelessly. Another thing I took out to When Penguin Expo was here in town, some of the magicians that met me there can testify I was using this and people couldn't figure it out. I was also using Rose there too and fooled a few people with that. But essentially, King's Force is a really, really nice way to force a card using it's a mechanical method in a way, using a deck of cards. So they physically shuffle a deck, you don't have to touch it at all. They memorize a card, put it back, you hit on how they're thinking and hit on the exact card, and sometimes even two cards that they're thinking of. And there's a myriad of ways to use it. If you're like me, I use the King's Force now for any card, any number, and a variety of other things. Ross kind of goes over it a little bit in here, talking about it, but you can do some really cool hands-off card magic with the whole structure of how the King's Force works. Ploy is the next thing in here. Ploy is something that when I initially read it, I was okay on it, but now that I've seen it performed, it looks a lot better. So that's one of the things you're going to get in this. Some of you that have read these PDFs and own them already, that once you see them in action, there's a few things you'll probably see and go, okay, that's a lot more workable and easy and effective than I originally imagined it in my head. Because that's one of the problems we have with reading PDFs, is we have to imagine the effect in our heads. And sometimes what's in our heads and what actually are two different things. Either for better or for worse. But in the case of this DVD, for the most part, it's for better. And it's incredible. So I completely forgot and looked over the psychometry, which originally appears in Kings Never Die, but it's on the DVD, and I saw that, and it looks so spectacular when it's actually performed live, and I went, wow, why did I not just use that simple method from Kings Never Die a long time ago? Really, really great. Let's get on to Disc 2 and talk a little bit more about what's in there. I should probably also mention in Disc 1, also things covered are outs, and what happens if things collapse, maybe they just don't work out. There's a lovely intro that talks about propless in general. That's in there as well. But now let's go ahead and look at Disc 2. Disc 2 in Rapture is almost all explanation. There's some performances in here too. I love the set they have, the different sets they've got for filming in this. It looks really great. The first four effects essentially all revolve around one of the things I talk to Ross about this all the time, because him and I share this obsession with objects on a table being predicted, read, whatever. And he's a lot better at coming up with ideas than I am on it, in my opinion. So some of the things in here in the first disc, there's pseudo-Hellstromism, which is a killer effect. It's essentially the old Hellstromism effect with objects on a table, but it's surefire, for the most part. As long as everything comes through okay, it's surefire. And I mean that in the way that it's not that it never does, it's just, the way to put it best is, as long as people follow your instructions and you're engaging, it's going to work. There's also an object prediction in here that's a really cool take on a very old principle that probably appeared in a book that some of you probably read and like, threw it away. I would have done the same if I had read the method he describes originally from the book in question. Next in here, we also have the pseudo-psychometry. The pseudo-psychometry in this is, once again, something I referred to earlier. It's something I read or heard initially in Kings Never Die, and Ross told me about, but then when I saw it performed, it looks immaculate. Big thing here, kind of from Papa Doc, anytime you can use a blindfold or have somebody doing this, or whatever you might need, or you can create this image of your eyes being closed like that, it instantly makes your effect look better to everyone else around you. So people not even interested in what you're doing suddenly find themselves engrossed in what you're doing because it looks so interesting. So you can easily take these methods out and really get some work with them if you just utilize them. I recommend the blindfold as it is because it just looks so different. It's eye-catching. People are going, what the hell is that guy blindfolded for? So pseudo-psychometry, once again, is just an effect where essentially you give psychometric readings and hand the objects back. Phenomenal, simple, easy to follow, in their own space, very conversational style given, and there's a performance of it as well to give you an idea. Hardcore is a really interesting one. It's just a simple one object divination effect. The idea is somebody picks an object up from the table and prints a special energy on it. For those of you that are addicts like me, if you watch Hilford's The Vault, his body feelings technique that he uses in the Haunted Key works great for this, and you get a really cool effect out of it too. But it's kind of hit and miss at this because I split it up and have them put the energy in the effect, and then have the effect of them, feeling and not feeling the energy afterwards when you've revealed what it is. This is a nice little topper, but essentially what you're doing in this is not predicting. You're reading an object that's on the table, telling them what it is, and giving them a reading based off it and their unique energy. Really cool premise, and looks just like what you would be doing if you were a real psychic to start with. Here it is. All of you, not all of you, some of you absolutely hated on it. And I really loved it, and I've used it, and it's been a beautiful thing. Rose by Fraser Parker. For those of you that had False Messiah, excellent name guess in that. Excellent principle that I remember Fraser and I had about the same kind of epiphany moment of realizing how devastating this principle is after Pete shared it on Jinxed. And it's a similar principle, not the same. So Rose essentially is a minimalistic, easy, maybe 20 seconds of scripting, and you can get a thought of name. Is it 100%? No, but neither is a billet. Trust me. I've used Rose, actually, and the other name guess. My favorite one is still going to be from Second Coming. I've used Rose, actually, to get out of somebody not writing something on a billet and being a douche. Because I just had them follow the instructions. I really put pressure on them to follow the instructions for the next bit, because this is really hard and they're a tough read. And then when they opened the billet up and there was nothing on it, it just blew them away even more, because they're like, oh my god, I even tried to catch you out. It's like that guy that in the Witch Hand concentrates on the wrong hand when you're using a method where they have to concentrate on the right hand. So, same thing here. This is really beautiful. Rose is simple, elegant, and it's delightful to perform. And I can't really say much more because there isn't really a lot to say on it. It's just that good. Don't ignore it. Go out and test it, and do it. All of these effects, go out and do them until you get them right at least 3 times. At least 3 times you get absolutely bang on with them. Even if you're not super confident with it, find the confidence in it. Once you hit it 3 times in a row, you will be confident with it. You can use it. It's like riding a bike. This next thing by Ross is something that he showed me over Skype before I got a copy of the DVD. And it was only like 2 or 3 days before. So when I saw this fits right up my alley. I like the reverse guess stuff where people guess your things. Not to say anything about Mike Phillips when I say this, I never liked them guessing my iPhone code. Hated it. I thought it was out of place. Didn't make sense in the order that it was done. I don't think them guessing my stuff first and then me guessing their stuff is... I think it's out of order for the right effects. It doesn't fit me. The reverse phone code guess is really cool because you literally do set a password on your phone. You literally do have the spectator guess what your code is, and they literally do just get it right, and they don't fully know how. There's a few variations on here because this is a slightly risky effect, but there's also outs covered in here to make sure that you're never left in the cold, and if you take the right precautions, you'll always hit this. And the spectators are just as impressed as everybody else watching, even though there's a slight bit of a dual reality, but nothing as heavy as some of you may think. And they won't talk afterwards, which is a really interesting principle that Ross has built into the effect itself. Reverse pin. I love this thing. Reverse pin is a beautiful effect where essentially you have somebody else guess your pin code. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but this works really great combined with Michael Murray's perfect opener from Calculated Risk, and it's how I use it personally. I either use it or I use the reverse phone unlock, and I think they work really great. Not used together in a set, but they're both great ways to use this. So the reverse pin essentially is they guess your pin code. It's very reminiscent in a way of Peter Turner's effect, Your Intuition, from When in Rome, from the At the Table lecture. And I've seen him do it live when he was here in Columbus about a year or 2 ago, and it's beautiful watching him work because people are just floored by it, and he's just bold as can be in hits. Reverse pin is actually, for the most part, a surefire effect. I've messed it up before because I messed it up inside my head, and it still comes out beautifully one way or the other because chances are you're going to still hit everything. It's a rather surefire method. It really kills people. This is one of the things I showed Thaddeus when I went to meet up with him this past weekend. He loved it, and he loved the way I combined it with The Perfect Opener by Michael Murray from Calculated Risk. This is one of the things that, if you don't take it out and use this, you're kidding yourself, man. You really need to use this thing. This is one of my favorite effects in the project, period. Now we get into the deeper look at Ekroth. What is Ekroth? Ekroth is a principle that Ross kind of discovered at first in, well, I guess technically Fraser kind of discovered it way back in the day, because O is based on something from Fraser's, from True Mysteries, and there's one other sources published before that. And then Ross created O off of it, and then O bred to a culmination of being able to force essentially anything in Ekroth with a much safer, it's not much safer net, a better safety net than what I've seen in traditional psychological or traditional forcing. So imagine for me, for a moment, that you say, you took a card, you wrote something on it, you put it under their hand and said, had them put their hand on top of the card, you did a handstick. This is one of the presentations given in the DVD. They don't teach the hypnosis or the handstick, but you can find that actually at James Tripp TV for Hypnosis Without Trance, which is what I use almost purely for hypnosis. That, and I also use the reality bending stuff by James Brown, which are no trance methods, which I think look really nice. If I am going to use a trance-based effect, for those of you interested, I use Peter Turner's IPI, because it looks like it induced multiple people into hypnosis just by talking to them without ever telling them to close their eyes. But that's a sidestep. But imagine you take something, put it under their hand, they cover it, they think of one thing, you tell them you think of an object, they try to guess it. You have them change their mind because you feel like they're completely off in a very fair way. Not like, oh, you know, just blah, blah, blah. Much simpler than that. You tell them to change their mind, and then boom. There it is. Or you can reveal that, and you don't have it written down at all, you just reveal what they're thinking of. Or whatever. There's multiple things covered in here. There's famous people, there's objects, there's obviously playing cards with O, as mentioned earlier. There's a lot of different stuff covered in Ekroth, and it goes a long way. And this kind of segues right into the next thing in here, which is the tossed out deck Ekroth. It goes into how you can use Ekroth in a tossed out deck scenario. With playing cards, you can also use famous people as well, which is really cool. But essentially, you always have a way of hitting something really amazing and doing it for multiple people. It's got the same kind of traditional things as the tossed out deck. For some of you that are thinking, oh man, I want to use, you can't use it close up, but you got to be careful. It's really good for stage, actually. I have done the O tossed out deck before, and you have about a 90% hit rate, and you just always have an out on you for the last one, which I think is the best way to go about it. Any. Catch that. Any word. That was word. Any word. Any word is an effect by Ross Taylor doing what I've been trying to do for years. For those of you that love the Albert test, it was originally by Paul Alberstadt, I believe, and then Colin McLeod updated it in Opening Minds, which is one of my favorite DVD sets of all time. Congratulations, Colin, for all your success, by the way. Hope you're seeing this. I doubt it, but I hope you are. So, this is kind of a take on the Albert test in a way, but it's essentially, it's just so much better in my opinion. No longer are you making somebody, sit on a prediction or having some convoluted way or putting it under something. It's much simpler. You literally, there's a bit of sleight of hand, I should say, in this, but it's nothing that's beyond anybody's realms. Essentially, imagine you had somebody, you wrote something, they signed the back of the cards that can't be switched, you put it in your pocket, or whatever you're going to do, you have them name two words, the first ones come to mind, they choose which one they want, ta-da, on their signed piece of paper, there it is. Doesn't sound like much to some of you, but really when you see this performed, you're going to go, fudge! Oh, shark, this is great. Really is. Really, really worth looking into. This is probably my favorite piece, and the best part is, for those of you that are wondering and going, and the gears are turning, this is not propless. But this is one of those training wheels things I mentioned earlier, you can use to test all of your propless material. You always have this, literally in your back pocket. You can use this to test your propless material and always have an out. Always. 100% of the time. Have an out. Sweet, right? So, I think you're going to really like any word. This is something when he showed it to me over Skype a couple days before the DVD came in my inbox, I was floored and like, that's what I've been trying to do for 5 years. And he has nailed it intuitively. Go Ross, really, for this one. Definitely one of my favorite things you ever showed me. Pressure, peak. Peak pressure. Lex Dixlia, dyslexia. So the pressure peak essentially is a way of peaking anything mentally. So I don't want to give too much away here, but essentially imagining divine star signs, thought of names, their name if you want to, whole big old list of good stuff. And the pressure peak allows that. I think you're really going to get a kick out of this. Some of you are going to look at this and go, oh, that's too bold. The rest of you are going to go, that's it. That's mine. I'm using it. And you're going to fool the other people with it. Hope you enjoy this one. I honestly think you will. Rapture, everybody. There you have it. A complete listing. Each item, everything covered. When you see the DVD, when it hits your doorstep, when you open that box and when you look inside, the absolute look of joy you'll have on your face. This is beautifully produced. I saved this for last, mainly because it's the best thing. The production quality, everything is superb. Fraser's put a lot of love, time, everything into this and really developed an astoundingly good product with it. Those of you that are on the fence and think, you know, is this going to be for me? Am I going to feel out of my money? Really, for, I guess, 50 pounds, I don't know what that translates to US, maybe $65, $75. This is a steal. Take the material, use it, be bold, but don't be judgmental of it. Never pass judgment on something until you've taken out and tested it and you've nailed and killed with it at least 3 times in a row. Because that's it. It's all like riding a bike. First time you got on those handlebars, you fell over. But you kept doing it and you got good at it and it became a part of you. And that's what a lot of this is. It's making these methods a part of who you are in your daily work and repertoire. And those of you that are going to take the time to do it are going to have something astoundingly good. Those of you that just put this in the drawer, you're going to be missing out on some of the most killer mentalism effects I've ever seen. Make sure you pick up Rapture today. Thank you for joining me again, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hey guys, Jacob here. Thanks again for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, there's a lot more to come. Interviews, product reviews, who knows else, what else, probably random rants by yours truly, and kind of things that you're just going to enjoy, really. Thank you again. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that actually by clicking here. I'd appreciate it. If you want to see the latest video, you can see that one here. It's really good. I'll see you next time, and thanks again for tuning in to Mystery Arts Inc.